is all about how and what we can do with whatever resources we have. Just in the chat box, can we have everybody? Can everybody type, or is the chat box locked right now? Okay, awesome. Hindi, English, what is preferred language to everybody, or a mix of both? English. Okay. We have English is better. All right, we'll start. We'll continue in English. If anybody wants to ask a question, just do a raise your hand and put your question in the chat box. In case I miss your question in the chat box, repeat it, because there are a lot of people. You will not be able to I will not be able to check it if it goes down too much. I'm just going to share my screen as well. Cool. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes, we can see.
Awesome. In between, I will be showing some samples that I go through. I will share the samples via link. The samples are uploaded already onto the YouTube, because on Zoom sometimes there is a lag, so we don't want lag to happen for you guys. I don't want the quality to be bad. For that, 1 minute or 30 seconds or 2 minutes, we will wait for you guys to come back and we will start again. So to begin with, how many of you guys already shoot short films, maybe using your camera or your phone? Nice. Okay. How many of you are here, are media students or already learning filmmaking and as a course? Okay. Nice, very cool. Okay. Let's go ahead. So my first question, always to anybody who comes for these things, is what, according to you, is a film, or what do films do? Anybody who can answer that question? For every question, I will wait only 30 seconds and I will move forward. Tell a story. What else? Storytelling by visuals, creating a story, series of motivating pictures. Okay, that's purely definition. Amazing. It tells a story, something which tells a story with visuals and sound. Mass media expression. It can portray the story of a society, conveying our emotions altogether. Now, that is what I was looking for. So for me, film has always been about emotions. It is always about how you can actually affect the emotions of your viewer. Because what is the basic difference between a photograph and a film is, a photograph is a very active medium. So if somebody looks at a photograph, that person or that viewer has the full freedom to interpret that image in a particular way, to interpret that story in a particular way, and come up with their own story. That is what photographs do. They are very active. They make the person looking at them think. Whereas a film is the other way around. A film, using its visuals and its sound, will affect the emotions of the person viewing it. Though that is what a film does. For example, if you're looking at a horror movie, and if I put a comedy music behind it, it won't be horror anymore, right? If I'm watching an action film and I'm muted while all the action and the gunshots and everything is going, it'll be a very boring action scene. Okay, it'll be like, okay, something is happening, but okay, I'm not interested in it anymore. So films are a passive medium. Through a film, a person can actually tell a story using the visuals, the dialogues, the music, and of course, a story that acts as the base of everything. So when we talk about films, they act as a passive medium in which you are telling your audience, okay, this is what I meant to say, or this is what what the story is all about. This is what the basically the storytelling is all about. So when we talk about storytelling, it is all about affecting the emotions of the viewer. That is where your storytelling comes in, and that is where your filmmaking comes in terms of capturing the correct visuals in the correct way. In today's workshop, what we are going to discuss about is the process of shooting short films. There is a process by which you shoot short films. If anybody's got any questions, kindly put it in the chat box. I am keeping a constant eye on the chat box, don't worry. If I do miss your questions, just type it again and you'll pop up again. And again, welcome guys, welcome to, my audio is not clear. Is my audio clear to everybody? Is my audio better? Awesome. Okay, so coming back. In today's workshop, we are going to be discussing about the process of filmmaking, the process which involves 3 stages of a film, 3 stages of a life of a film. Lighting in short films on low budget, we will talk about it. How to produce short film, web series of film. How do we get a producer? We will talk about distribution towards the end. And tell about frame rates. Yes, of course. I'm going to be covering almost everything that you guys are asking. So the 3 stages of a film. A film is made in 3 parts. The first time a film is made, it is pre-production. In pre-production, you develop a story, you develop a concept, you come up with a concept, and you prepare a film. Then you go on floor and you start shooting. When you go on floor, you start shooting, the film is made again. Why? Because you will keep curating it, you will keep making changes to it, you will keep adding, subtracting things. Maybe your actor runs away, you have to change the actor. Maybe the location changes, maybe the location guy backed out, maybe it rained on the day you wanted a sunny day. Everything changes. Shisha, no, I'm not going to be going into depth of scripts, and I'm not going to be talking about storyboards in detail, but we are going to touch upon them. As in, what is the need? Why? Because this is only a 2-hour session, and script writing alone is a 5-hour session with me. So bear with me. We are limited in terms of content today. Okay, मैं क्या करूँगा? मैं हिंदी इंग्लिश मिक्स करता रहूँगा. In case people don't understand English or don't understand Hindi, मैं हिंदी इंग्लिश थोड़ा मिक्स करूँगा. I hope that is fine. I don't know. I hope there's no pure English speaking people here who will not understand Hindi. There are. Okay. Anyways, we'll take a poll about it later. Okay, coming back to what we're going to talk about, the third stage, तीसरी बारी जब film बनती है, the third time that a film is made is post-production. On edit, an editor is a very, very important person. An editor has the power to recreate a film other than what it was written like. For example, an editor has the capability to take the climax of the film, put it in the starting, and totally change the meaning of the film. Right? Guys, don't worry, I'm talking in English. I'm continuing in English. And if anybody wants to ask questions in Hindi, they can put it in the chat box. I will take them up during the Q&A session. Don't worry about it. Coming back to what I was saying. So an editor, after the director, after the scriptwriter, has the power to recreate a film, either to make it or break it. Edit table is a recreation table, is what I call it. And that is where films are made again. An editor has the power to change the script, change dialogues, change scenes, change the whole feel of a film that a person who wrote the film thought of when they started. So when you talk about a film, it is done in 3 stages: pre-production, production, and post-production. We're going to start with pre-production and what a film life cycle is all about. The first and the most important thing in any film is the budget. Whenever you're starting, there's somebody saying my voice is breaking. Is my voice breaking or is my voice clear? What is the toughest part between pre-production, production, post-production? I would say all of them. All of them have the same weightage. All of them have to be given equal amount of time. It's just that how you distribute your efforts in terms of executing a project is where it matters. For example, I would give 40% to pre-production, about 30% to production, and about 30% to post-production. But pre-production takes a lot more time. What is crisis? I will come to crisis as well. Okay, let's take it full screen. Can everybody see the screen? Awesome. Cool. Let's continue. So first and foremost thing is budget. जब आप budget बनाते हैं, when you create a budget, you have to be very careful. What are the components that you are actually including in a budget? What are the things that you have to consider while shooting a film? Anything from a pin to an airplane that will be used in a film has to be considered as a part of the budget. I don't know if we can share it with the participants. Mukesh and Rajesh would be able to tell you better. Anyways, coming back to what I was saying, and so a budget is very important. So right from your phone bills to your production bills, to your food, to your catering, to your transport for people from the set back to that, your pre-production, your script writing, your client meetings, every single thing needs to be covered when we talk about budget. And guys, believe me, if you go to a producer, if the producer says, let's make a film, I have some money, get that sum amount. Ask them, okay, sir, what is that sum amount? What is that exact amount that you are planning to spend on a film that you will actually be able to execute the production in the film after that? So you have to get that exact amount. There are people who tell you, like, we have money, we will do it, start. As a writer, we have a tendency of going overboard with our shots. I want to give a drone shot to my film. I want to give a drone shot or an aerial shot to my film, but I don't have a drone budget. I want to give a 360-degree shot to my film. I don't have a rig budget. I want to do my film in 4K. I want to do my film in 8K. I want to do high resolution. I don't have the supporting power to edit it. Okay, sorry. Flowchart isn't clear. The flowchart is available on the web. You guys can Google it. I will share the link in the chat box after this. So when you talk about anything, from everything in a film has to be given a budget, right from your meetings to your pre-production budgets, your client meetings that were cancelled. Everything has to be considered when you're developing a budget. Once the budget is given to you, that is when you start your pre-production process. That is when you start writing. Before this, you don't start writing. Why? Because, like I said, as writers, we have the tendency to go overboard. We have a tendency to make shots that we feel will look very beautiful in the film, but in reality, we don't have the budget to shoot them. I want an aerial shot, but I don't have a budget for a drone. I want to shoot my film in Switzerland, but my budget is not more than Dharamshala for that matter. I want to go and shoot in backwaters or rivers or in the sea. The maximum I can go is to the water stream behind my house. So you have to consider everything in your budget, that possibilities of travel, possibilities of everything. Why I'm talking too much about budget is because that is what will actually make you able to shoot a good film. Half of the films die because they are overshot, they overshoot the budget, and the films die right in the middle. So guys, be very careful with your budget. Then be very careful with your pre-production. I will talk in detail about pre-production. I'm skipping this part right now. I will be able to send the flowchart. Don't worry, I'll send it in the chat box here. I'll send you guys a link. When I talk about crisis, you have to have backups. For example, if you've budgeted for 3 days, keep money for at least 4. You don't know if you miss out on a day. If you budgeted for an actor for 3 days, keep his budget for at least 4. What if something happens and he backs out and you have to get somebody else? You will have to pay more. That somebody else will not be coming in for free. Right? Have contingencies, have backup plans. Work on day of days. You should know when you're shooting, where you're shooting, how you're shooting it. And if you, let's say, lock a location, have an alternate of that location, because if something goes wrong in the location, if something goes bad in the location, it will lead to a production loss, it will lead to a loss of time, and it will lead to loss of money. So always have a crisis backup. Get your post production sorted. And when I say get your post production, मैं क्यों बोल रहा हूँ कि आपको अपना एडिटिंग के बारे में फिल्म स्टार्ट होने से पहले सोचना है? For one simple reason, let's say you decide to shoot 4K, but your system does not support editing 4K. Let's say your film delivery is in 4K, but your system does not do 4K outputs. You're stuck. You will end up spending more money on system rentals or even upgrading your own system. So you have to understand what your post-production capabilities are. Then you have to understand what your distribution capabilities are. I've talked to so many producers over the years. I've worked with so many producers over the years. They have one single statement they tell me every single time. That whether if you make a film in a zero budget, even if you make a film in a zero budget, even if you make a film without spending any money on that film, you will still need an X amount of money to distribute it, to get it where it has to be. Even if it is YouTube, let's say you want to put it up on YouTube, you will have to spend an X amount of money to get the views. You will have to spend an X amount of money to get the distribution on YouTube done. If you go to OTT platforms like Netflix, like Amazon, everybody gives you an opportunity to enter at a very low cost. But to enter their ad space, to get them to put you on the home page, you will have to pay extra money. Cinema releases cost at least 3 crores across. How much is my audio lagging for you guys? Or is it okay? For some of you, because there are only few people out of 220 people who are saying. It's okay. Okay, guys, you have to check your internet connection also. Cool. Coming back to distribution. So if you want to do a pan-India distribution, you need to have at least minimum of 3 crore rupees to hit every metro city, hit every multiplex in the country, and get your film released. Right? I think that when you create a film, let's say you collaborate with me. We put up collaborations every month. We put up 3 collaborations every month in which you pitch us a film and we collaborate with you. So let's say I do everything in terms of production for you. We get location free. We get our actors from a film school free. We get everything for free. We will still need an X amount of money. Let's say we want to go to film festivals, because if I'm making an independent film, I want to take it to film festivals. For a film to do the circuit for 1.5 years, or for 1 year, if I say a 1 year circuit, it needs approximately 1,35,000 to enter every single film festival that is there on the circuit. So you need at least 1.3 lakhs just to do that. Gaurang, we will come to editing and I will answer that question, don't worry. So all these elements are very important. You have to talk about budget, pre-production, production, of course, crisis management, post-production, and distribution. Oops, 1 second. When do you start production? How do you start production? What do you do? First, set up a company. Guys, this is important. Don't stay an independent filmmaker. If the company is even on your name, it works. It doesn't matter if it's on a particular name. You don't need a ShootGuru or you don't need a XYZ Films. It could be your name, but set it up as a company for one simple reason that Prushtita, I'm going to come to the producer question when we talk about distribution and of course sell your movie also, don't worry. So when you set up a company, why do I ask people to set up a company is because when you set up a company, all your stakeholders, your producers, your distributors, your actors feel secure that they're putting their money, their time and their investment into a solid entity. That solid entity has to come. You guys have to have a prelim budget before you even start writing. Have an estimate of budget. Okay, I'm going to be spending 2 lakh rupees on this film, or I'm going to spend 2,000 rupees on the film. Based on that, you will be able to write the film. Right in the beginning, get the key department heads in place. What are the key department heads? Your director is a key department head, right? Your writer is a key department head. Your producer, I'm not talking about the guy who puts in the money, but somebody who's running production for you. is a key department head, because he will tell you what is available and what is not. Your line producer is a key department head. Your editor is a key department head. Your lighting guy is a key department head. And of course, your casting director is a key department head. You need to sit with all of these people. You need to decide at what point in time do you let go of your resources and give it to them, and they can actually then deliver what you are looking for. Once you know what your prelim budget is, and once you know what are your resources, you redo your budget, evaluate your budget. This is where you actually, Ritin, I'm going to come back to line producer. I'm going to talk about crews as well. Okay, Himanshu, I'll take that up. Okay, coming back, let me finish this slide and I'll take up your questions. So you have to redefine your budget here. When you redefine your budget, this is the time when you actually fix a contingency plan, a backup. What if something goes wrong? What if the footage that you shot on, you lose all the footage? What do you do then? What if you need extra hard drives? What if you need to change the technology? Maybe aapne kisi DOP or some DOP you had collaborated with, that guy backed out in the end. Now you don't have a camera. You might have to rent it out, or you have to collaborate with people. What if things change for you at any point in time? तो आपको एक बैकअप, एक contingency plan बनाना पड़ेगा. You'll have to have contingency plans for every single thing, even from your location to your from your location to your actors to everything has to be covered in that. So guys, be very, 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 very ultra careful with that. I'm just gonna escape this. I'm just gonna move some windows around because there are too many windows covering my screen. Yeah, better. Then get everything in one place. You need to put your locations ready. You need to get your location contracts done. You need to have your permits done. Do not shoot without permits, guys. It is very, very unprofessional and it is very risky. You can do guerrilla shoots if you're working at a very, very low budget, but independent short filmmakers don't have the privilege to keep and maintain many departments. One man works. That is so true. That is so true. I was gonna come to that. So keep listening to what I'm saying and we will take up all of this. So when we talk about what you have to procure, if you have a camera that is coming from somewhere, get a contract done. If you have locations, go sign contracts. Don't just depend on a call. Okay, they said yes, come on this particular day. What if they back out? What will you do then? What will you do if somebody backs out in the end? You need to have permits with you. You need to have location permits with you. You need to have props with you. Anything special that you need for the film, buy it right in the beginning. Keep it safe. Keep it there. Don't let anybody touch it. Right? You start hiring crew. You start auditioning talent. You need to do that pre your shoot. You need to have that in your pre-production, because if you don't know who you're shooting with, if you don't know what you're doing with somebody, you will end up losing time and you will end up losing money. And again, rehearse. Rehearsals are very important. If you're doing a short film, you need to rehearse with your actors. Your crew needs to be there because they need to understand what is happening, and you need to understand where, how, and what some people are coming from, and what are the kind of capabilities that these people are getting, and what are the capabilities that these people are bringing on board. So you need to know everything. मतलब कौन कितने पानी में आपको समझना चाहिए. You need to understand what is the level of the people who are working with you. Let me take up some questions right now. I'll keep skipping questions if I don't have to. Don't worry about it. And don't worry, but I will finish this workshop in time and not miss anything for you guys. So there's a question, where do we take permissions? A very important question that's come from Shisha, that where do we take permissions for a particular location? If it is a private location, you take permissions from the location owner. If it is a public location, you have to look for departments. For example, if you are working on public properties, if you're working with monuments, then you need ASI, Archaeological Survey of India. And if you need to have If you are working with locations like farmhouses or anything, you need to talk to owners. That's a very straightforward. What is a guerrilla shot? Guerrilla shot is when you hide and shoot. For example, I don't have permission to shoot in the Taj Mahal, but I need a shot. I will actually just take my phone, go in, take my actors, pretend I'm there for a holiday, shoot and come out. That is how guerrilla shoots work. We will talk about gear. We will talk about, yes, music director is considered. Thank you for putting that up. Music director or sound designers are definitely considered as a key department, but they can be talked to after post-production also. So going ahead, the first and foremost thing that you do is research. You have to do research. Is it illegal to do what? Anyways, look for similar content. Look for inspiration. There is so much content available in the market. There is so much content available everywhere around you that you need to start looking out for similar content. Let's say you come down to what kind of a film. If you're making a horror film, look at what people are doing in film festivals when they're doing horror films, right? Shooting on government road does not need it depends where you're shooting. If you're shooting in any sensitive areas, you definitely need permissions. Okay, where do you get actors? Theaters are your best place to get actors. I'm going to talk about it a little down the line. Cool. Coming back to what I'm saying, you get similar content. You have to look for similar content. You have to look out for content that works for you. There is a website called vimeo.com. It's Vimeo, vimeo.com. Guys, go to this website. They have a section of free films. They have a section of where they are releasing a lot of films on a daily basis. Go check out the films that suit you best. Go check out the films that have won film festivals. You will actually get a lot of inspiration. You will get a lot of content there, and you will get a lot of things that will help you go through it. It's called Vimeo, Vimeo. I've put it in the chat box. You guys can check it out. You don't have to copy. Never copy anybody's work. Get inspiration. You need to have inspiration. You need to be inspired by what people are doing. You need to be inspired by the success stories. You need to be inspired by what people have done in the past. You have to draw your inspirations from these success stories and create your own. Right? You have to start create your own with whatever resources you have. A basic DSLR works. An entry-level DSLR works. DSLR like this, which is a G9. This is an entry-level DSLR from Panasonic. This works brilliantly to do films. It even shoots vlog. Then if you have more budget, you can go for something like this, which is the S1H. This is the 6K shooting DSLR, which again is ultimate to shoot short films and web series. So it is up to you how you want to do it. Talk to people who've done films, talk to people who've been doing stuff. You want recommendations, you want to talk about what you can shoot with, what kind of technology can you shoot with. You can actually come to us. You have a lot of people in Instagram. You have a lot of mentors available to you. You can have mentors for you, and that can help you through the process of developing content, right? Look for previous successes. Let's say if you want to do a documentary film on a particular topic, see what similar films have been made in the past. Maybe your topic is different. Maybe you're taking a different angle of the problem, right? If we go out now, we're stuck in a situation. It's Corona everywhere. People are making documentaries on Corona. People are developing content around Corona. 99% of them look exactly the same, but you have to understand that every film will be different because the storytelling is always different unless copied. So you have to be very careful about when you're talking about content, and when you're taking inspirations. Don't copy, get inspired. Go to YouTube, go to Vimeo, go to Film Freeway. Film Freeway is a website I'm going to talk about in detail later that will help you to distribute your films on for film festivals. And then you have weekly shorts. So when I say weekly shorts, if you just go on YouTube and search short films, every week there are films released that are, yes, this session will include cinematography. That includes award-winning films. That will include films that are doing very well on the film circuits, that have done well in the past, have been made by well-known filmmakers. So you get to see so much of content that is available to you and that you can actually go back to as well. Once you've researched, you need to start writing. The concept of writing is very different. The concept of writing is very different from when you write a novel to when you write something that you are writing for yourself, a story, or to when you write a full-fledged feature film. You start with a one-liner. The one-liner is your 30-second pitch. It is your elevator pitch. It is that one line that will interest the person sitting in front of you to whether to watch the film or not to watch the film. So your one-liners have to be very, very ultra interesting. They have to be catchy. It is also called the hook line or the log line. Exactly. So it is called the hook line as well, where you hook your audience into getting into your film, where you bring your audience towards your film, where you gather your audience towards your film. So that one-liner is very important. Then you convert that one-liner into a one-pager. In one page, or what we call as a synopsis of the film, you make the person reading it understand what is the film about. Now, guys, you have to be very careful when you're writing the one-pager. A one-pager will not have the climax in it. It will not talk about the details of the character. What it is actually talking about is what the film is about and what the story is going to be talking about, and that's pretty much it. One pager is 180 words summary or a synopsis of your film that is given to people who are either interested in watching your film or are interested in investing money into your film. That works as a synopsis. Let's say if I ask for films post this session, I am going to be asking for films. If you have films, you talk about it, you talk to us about it, you pitch it to us. I will only need that one pager. I'm very clear about it. I will not need more than one pager. The setting is, the climax is not disclosed in the one pager. The context and the whole plan is disclosed in the one pager. The 5-pager, on the other hand, is a mini storybook. It talks about everything. It talks about your characters. It talks about your locations. It talks about the story. It talks about people. It talks about storytelling, how the story is flowing. It talks about where the film is taking the audience, how the film will flow, what are the different roles of the different characters, what are the characteristics of the character, the treatment. Everything is covered in the 5-pager. The 5-pager is your mini storybook. It is your mini, I would say, compression of your whole film that would tell me, a producer, what the film is all about and what the production, I can imagine in my head what the production is actually going to look like. Cool? So then you go on to a script. There is a difference between a script and a screenplay. A script will have dialogues, a script will have actors, a script will have location. What it won't have is how the camera is moving. What it won't have is what the actors are doing on the set. A script works as a guideline for people to look at what the dialogues and what the story is. A screenplay, on the other hand, is a visual description of script. No, it's the opposite. A screenplay is a script. Okay, dialogues are part of screenplay. Script. Dialogues are written in the script. A screenplay will tell you how the camera is moving, what the actors are doing. For example, what you see on screen, which says script sample, is actually a screenplay sample. Why? The only thing it is missing is the camera movements. That is why it's not called a screenplay. But everything else, it says, okay, internal, the setting is there. You are talking about the dialogue that is coming. You're talking about the description of the scene. You are talking about the characters that are there, what they are looking like, how are they standing, where are they standing, everything. A screenplay is more detailed. It will tell the person reading a screenplay, okay, the character A will move from point 1 to point 2 while holding a book in his hand and saying the dialogue comes and it moves ahead. No, the script does not have short sizes. Script breakdown is a very, very important element. A script breakdown will tell you what the script holds. I'm going to show you guys a sample of what a script breakdown looks like. Just give me 1 second. This is what a script breakdown is all about. So a script breakdown is actually telling you what are the elements of that scene in front of you, right? For example, it says scene 1, the cast that is there, the props that are being used, the location it is at, the sound, the background noise, the background score, and the background score is also written over here, because you might have to get that background score done on the shoot itself. The extras that are there, it is done in the day or it is done in the night, and where it is. So this is what a script breakdown is. The script breakdown is basically the elements of a scene broken down into different categories, so that when you're shooting, you know that you're prepped with every single detail on that shoot day, on that location, on that place when that scene is being shot. You have to be very careful about it. I did a project some years ago. That project was a feature film. It's a released feature film. It's called Narayan. It's a very, I would say, decently done film with independent actors, with everybody. But the drawback about the film was that we didn't have a pre-production. We didn't have a script to play with. We didn't have screenplay. We didn't have shot divisions to work with. I'm just going to go back to what I was talking about. So you need that script breakdown. You need that short division. A short division will tell you what a film. So this is a storyboard. A storyboard comes here in short division. A storyboard is created based on the short division. A storyboard is the visual representation of a short division. Short division is basically the shots that you have to take to complete a scene. You have to be very certain when you're going on floor on what kind of shots you will be taking, what kind of scenes you're shooting, and how will you be shooting it. You have to be prepped with everything. It cannot be guesswork. At any point in time, it cannot be guesswork. You will end up losing time. You will end up losing money. Like I was saying, so I was part of this project some years ago. It's called Narayan. It's there running on a couple of TV channels also now. When we shot that film, we didn't have a pre-production. We didn't have perfect pre-production. We didn't have the perfect script with us. We didn't have a shot division. We had to pick up all our crew. We had to pick up all our equipment. We had to pick up everything and move towards a shoot location, and then shoot it there. And at times we were stuck in situations when only one camera and one crew would be needed, and everybody was there, and we didn't know what to do because we didn't have an idea what to do. Directors have a habit of keeping the story in their own head. Directors have an idea of keeping everything in their head. And in the end, what happens is they forget to tell the crew members what needs to be done, and screw ups happen. So the film, we had a contract of 30 days. At 108th day is when I told my director that, listen, this is not happening like this, and you have to change or you have to speed up. 108 days. The actual production days were 121. You need to have a short division. A short division is a list of shots that you carry with you onto a floor and you shoot with that. We are not going into the depth of writing today, guys. It's a very overview of short film making. I will not be able to go into depth. So please, if you have any questions, we can take it post the workshop as well. So once your pre-production is done, once your script is ready, once your short divisions are ready, now you know what you have to do next. Now you know what you have to get into next, as in like you start your production. What do you think? What do you do in your production? Can anybody answer in the chat box itself? What is the core thing when it comes to production? Does anybody have an idea? Arindam, I'll talk about short division again. The places, the shoot, the film, cost analysis is pre-production, editing is post-production, characters, cast, lighting, amazing. So the production is what you really have to do. The production is what you've been prepping for. It is the execution of your script on the floor. It is how you are going to execute the script to look like a film. This is where you develop your visuals. This is where you develop your, yes, visualization of what we wrote. Exactly. Thank you, Ram. So it is the visualization of everything. This is where everything happens. This is where the magic happens. This is where you turn words into visuals, right? So the short division that I was talking about is needed here. Why? Because whenever you get onto a shoot, you will have to know what scenes you're shooting, what are the characters that are available to me. You just call them. You have to schedule your productions very nicely, right? Now, who is a part of production? People were asking me what are the different roles of different people and everything. So these are what they are. An executive producer is somebody who puts in the money. He's somebody whose money is on the line. A producer is somebody who runs the show. He's somebody who's running the production. He will make sure the characters are on time. He will make sure food is there. He will make sure equipment is there. He will make sure your crew is there. Everything of executing the project is the job of the producer. The director is the showrunner. He's the ringmaster. Everybody follows the director. The director is king on set. जो director बोलेगा हम वो करेंगे. So we have to follow what the director says. A line producer is somebody who organizes stuff for you. For example, if I need a location in Jammu, I will hire a line producer who will tell me about that location. These are people usually, for example, you guys sitting in whatever city you are in, sitting in whatever state you are, can be a line producer for your own state. Why? Because you know the state. You know the good locations. You know the good places. You know where what is working. You can pitch yourself as line producers. If tomorrow I want to go to Gwalior and shoot a film, I would actually look out for somebody in Gwalior who would take me to the places I want to go. Right? If you want I want a particular kind of a house in a particular kind of location, I will again approach a line producer. Then there is the first assistant director. The first assistant director is to make sure that the director's job runs ultra smoothly. That there are no glitches, there are no hiccups, nobody screwing up the production, and there are no hiccups that come into the production, and there is no hampering the director's job. An assistant director has to make sure that the director is at ease and the director is taken care of and the director is getting what he wants. The first assistant director's job is also to take care of the story, that whether we are actually covering everything that needs to be shot or not, he makes sure that, or she makes sure that we do it. Then you have gaffer and electricians. Basically, they take care of your lighting and everything. You have a director of photography. So a director of photography is as equally important as a director on set, because a director of photography or a cinematographer is somebody who takes the visualization of a director and technically executes it. He is the person who takes the vision of the director and takes his camera, his sound, his lighting, takes the combination together and creates a film out of it. That is the job of a cinematographer or a director of photography. A director of photography needs to be a visualizer, needs to be somebody who understands visuals perfectly, and has to be technically 100% strong. He needs to understand lighting, he needs to understand sound, he needs to understand the camera itself, movement, anything special, because that is what will allow him to actually execute the directions of the director. It is very important. A camera operator, on the other hand, could also be the director of photography. The director of photography could also handle the camera. Yeah, DOP and cinematographer are the same. A DOP can also handle his own camera. I handle my own camera. I don't like a camera operator on set. Why? Because I find it cumbersome to tell somebody. I would rather have another unit running alongside with me, which I can guide, but I will run my own camera. So a camera operator knows the camera in and out and runs the camera. First focus puller or first AC assistant camera focus pullers. Okay, this is where cinema comes in, because in cinema you have lenses like these. You see the lens? It has a manual aperture, it has a manual zoom, it has a manual focus. All three rings of this lens are pure manual. Now, when you're using a manual lens onto a camera that does not have an autofocus, you need somebody to maintain that focus for you. You need somebody to run that focus for you. This is where your first assistant camera comes in. He maintains that focus for you manually, because a cameraman on a usual basis would either use a rig or anything. You get electronic focus pullers these days that attach to your cameras, that are attached to your lenses and are very easy to run. When we talk about key grips are people who know how to use gimbals, who know how to set up gimbals. Production designer is again somebody who's very, very important. A producer can be a production designer, a director can be a production designer, a DOP can also be a production designer, because these people actually come together to design how the production will flow, what is needed on a particular production, how a production will actually go hand in hand with everything running around it. So a production designer's job is to formulate a plan of how a production will work. His job or her job is to execute what a plan is done. For example, if my production design says that I need a set to be lit in a particular way, sound to be recorded in a particular way, and my actor standing in particular positions, the production designer will make sure that all of this is designed accordingly and executed. You need a sound technician. A DOP can be really, really good in sound. A DOP can become a sound technician as well. But on cinematic productions, if you need to record external sound, don't go by a fluke. Get a sound recordist. Get somebody professionally who's good at cutting sound, who's good at recording good sound. Elrich, a focus puller, is somebody who maintains focus. So manual lenses need somebody maintaining focus. That is what a focus puller is. Production designer and art director could be only focusing on the art side of a production, whereas the production designer also has to understand lighting, also has to understand how the camera works, also has to understand what the camera or lenses will capture in a particular frame. That a production designer has to understand. Also, to an extent, he has to understand at what time do they need to feed the actors, at what time do they need to feed the extras, and where all this are serving, because that design, that set, that everything has to be placed by a production designer. A key grip is somebody who knows, okay, if I'm using a gimbal, if I want a gimbal on the set, I need somebody who can set that up for me. So that is where a key grip is. Again, guys, these are only different positions. A director can also be a DOP, can also be a camera operator, can also be his AD, can also be a key grip, can also be a production designer, and can also be a sound technician. A producer can be a production designer, a key grip, a camera operator, and of course, production runner. Assistant camera could be anybody who can handle lighting, who can handle the camera itself, anybody. So single person can be doing a lot more things, a lot more than one crew position than you hiring multiple people. We don't have the privilege of hiring multiple people. The feature film that I'm talking about, or I always talk about, was shot by a 4-member crew. Imagine that. A 4-member crew shot the whole feature film. So it is up to you how you want to manage your show. It is up to you how you want to collaborate with different kind of people and work. For example, if I'm doing a short film tomorrow and I need a camera, I will go on Instagram. I will see who the person who's flaunting his camera, because whenever somebody buys a new camera, they just want to put up a story or want to put up a post saying new baby in the house. So When we talk about that, if you look at somebody, if you find somebody who is doing that or who is flaunting his camera, that is your cameraman right there. Somebody who's got more than 4 or 5 films on his posts, or who's got more than 4 or 5 films in his YouTube, can be your director, or you are yourself a director, or you are yourself a writer, right? So you have to understand, you have to identify people around you, you have to identify what are their capabilities based on your requirements, and then execute a project. So before I move it, I'm just going to take a few questions from here, which are relevant. So first, recording, live sound is better or dubbing? Live sound is always better, because you don't know the kind of actors you're working with. The same actor will not be able to give the same emotion when it comes to dubbing. Dubbing needs a lot of practice. Dubbing needs a lot of experience to get the same emotion out. Then Rohit has a question. What is it taken from same different angles? They shoot many times or fixed by? Again, depends on the technology that you're shooting with. You can use the same camera to record on higher resolutions and cut in or crop in, or you can use multicams, or you can do the same scene again and again. That is how they used to do when cinema started. People just used to have one camera when they started, so they had to do the same scene again and again from different angles. How to avoid unwanted voice while shooting? Ask people to shut up. It's as simple as that. Or if you have a construction site, lose your live sound, don't shoot there. You have to look for places that are soundproof, that are ready for you. You have to stop living in your head. Your team needs to know what you're doing. You have to prioritize your important coverage. For example, you have a short division ready, you have a short list ready. Now you know that what do you have to shoot. You have to understand what is the important shots that you have to finish before you actually go ahead into something else. All right, you have to know what your important coverage is, without which your film is a no-show. Don't stick to creative shots, because creative shots take time. First finish easy shots, first finish shots that are part of your story, then go ahead. Prioritize your important coverage. Have a get it done attitude. Have your crew have a get it done attitude. You can't have an attitude of coming from people saying, "Yeah, theek hai, ho jayega." Yeah, don't depend on post production. Get that attitude out of your head that post mein dekh lenge, post mein ho jayega, editing mein dekh lenge, we'll get it done in editing, we'll handle it in post. Don't do it. Right? Everything has to be done there and then when it was meant to be done. Do not depend on later. Guys, do not do that. Remain, but still at the same time, remain flexible. When I talk about remaining flexible, does not mean you compromise on your script. When I talk about remaining flexible, what I mean to say is you have to be flexible about situations. If you were stuck with a day when it started raining and you needed a bright sunny day, change your script or shoot something else that day. I know directors who get stuck. Nahi yaar, I want to shoot this scene. I want to shoot this scene in this particular way. I don't care if I have the light. I don't care if I have the actors ready. They are stuck on that, right? But you have to be flexible. You might need to change those elements. You might need to tell your audience, okay, your production, okay, this is not working. Let's try something else. You have to be ready for that. You need shoot schedules. You need schedules that work for you. You need schedules that are to be told to everybody from your crew to your actors so that everybody is on time and nobody misses out on anything. When I was part of bigger productions, I had seen cases when actors were not informed on the time they were needed, and they ended up coming much earlier and they were just sitting around. What that leads to is basically you losing your credibility in front of that actor, because that actor will not believe you the next time you call them. They might not even turn up the next time you call them. So guys, you have to be very ultra careful about shoot schedules, and you have to inform every single person from your spot boys to your actors to everybody on set, to your friends, to your parents, to your actor, to your editors, producers, everybody, you have to give them a schedule. It doesn't matter whether they're going to use it or not. Day of days. Day of days is get production crews, get equipment, get people only on the day you need them. Don't carry things just because you own them. Right? You have to be very, very careful with that. Why? Because you will end up wasting time. And on roll, be focused. Switch off your phone. Don't be distracted by your phone when you're on shoot. Never be distracted by your phone when you're on shoot. Leave distractions behind. You have to have a clear mind when you start shooting. There is no excuse of bad production. Use whatever you have. You want an entry-level camera? A G9 is a beautiful entry-level camera. It is about a lakh something. Shoots vlog, shoots 180 FPS, shoots high bit rates. This is an amazing camera. It attaches to an external recorder as well and gives you high-quality footage. You have more budget, you can go a little more expensive, get a rig made. You have wireless transmitters, you have portable lights, you have sound. You have very high-end cameras. These are still DSLR. These are still mirrorless cameras. This here is a S1H. It's a 6K shooting mirrorless camera for Panasonic. It's a full frame camera. This is a beast, but it's expensive. So independent filmmakers might not want it. If you're an independent filmmaker who's just starting off, and like I had a question coming in, how to get a cinema camera that is cheap, this is what it is. A G9, this is just launched, a beautiful camera. And the most amazing thing is that this camera is actually compatible with a cinema lens. Cinema lenses go usually in lakhs. Any cinema lens usually goes in lakhs. This here is an affordable cinema lens. Why? Because I am using a micro four thirds technology, because I'm using a micro four thirds ecosystem, I can shoot my films for cheap. Use available cameras for cheap. Right here, what you see, this is a lens that costed me about $1,500. This is a camera that costed me about $1,500. About $3,000, I have a cinema setup ready, which usually costs me $30,000 if I want to go into advanced cinema. But when you're starting off, it works. Use free locations. You have to start using free locations. Don't depend on very high-end locations. As a writer, don't go overboard on locations. Every single location will cost you either fuel in going and coming back, or if you don't have permissions to shoot at the location, you'll get into trouble. Use as much as natural light as possible. Shoot in as much natural light possible, because you will end up covering up more time and end up reducing your costs. Right? Share credit. If you're collaborating with people, share credit. Don't go for very high-end budgets in catering. Go for very basic food, but do not compromise on your story. Work on a following. Start releasing behind the scenes on a daily basis. Start releasing content on a daily basis. Create an Instagram page. I love this about people abroad. I keep getting these messages every second day, which are behind the scenes from films that are still in production. And these usually are very, very ultra low budget independent films that people are producing abroad. They are making these films for film festivals. They're making these films for distribution. And they're already building a following, because they know when they release, there will be a couple of people who definitely want to watch that film. So build a following. There is no thing as luck. Believe me, considering the situation we are in, you, me, everybody on this planet is on the same platform now. We have to start from zero. So there is no such thing as luck. It is all about hard work, and it is all about how you execute your projects. The tech, you have to understand the tech that you're working with. You have to understand what resolution will you be shooting on. What is the image quality that your camera is giving? This camera here, which I was saying is an entry-level camera for cinema, is actually a 4K camera. It is a camera that shoots very high resolution images in terms of video, right? So you have to understand what is the technology that is available to you, what is the image quality that you can shoot on, and what are the lens options that are available to you. Lenses are very, very important. Why I chose Panasonic as my ecosystem. I'm not saying this because I'm on a Panasonic workshop, but rather I'm saying this because I chose it because of the ecosystem. I chose it because the ecosystem is dirt cheap. A cinema lens T2.9 would cost you close to, I'm not kidding, it costs to 8 to 10 lakhs in the market. This one costed me less than 1.5. This is a DSO lens 10 to 24 hyperfocal cinema lens. What you see here, right? The ecosystem is cheaper. I have a lens here from another brand. This is again a third party lens. This is actually an SLR Magic 25mm or a 50mm equivalent, 0.95. Imagine that, getting that onto a full frame or getting that in a medium format, getting that in a cinema camera, you will burn your bank out. This costed less than 60,000 rupees. That is how cheap the ecosystem is. That is how affordable the ecosystem is. The rig that you see behind me, I'm just going to take that rig out. The rig that you see here, this whole rig didn't cost me too much. I have a wireless transmitter here, which is under 50K. I have a flicker-free LED light over here, which is under 10K. I have a boom mic, a shotgun mic, which is again under 10K. I have a camera with a 42.5 Leica lens, f1.2. The combination costed me under 2 lakhs. The whole kit, the whole setup costed me under 3 lakhs. And this is what cinema is all about today. You have to make cinema cheaper. You have to understand what video formats can you shoot. This setup here, this is a GH5S. This shoots 10-bit videos. Cinema is 10-bit. You need that 10-bit to color grade your images. I'm not going to be talking, guys, don't ask me a question about color grading and 10-bit. I'm not going to be talking about that. That's a different ball game altogether. But 8-bit is what your regular cameras shoot. 10-bit is what these cameras shoot, and 12-bit is what cinema shoots. So you need higher bit rates to color grade films. You need higher bit rates to give them that cinema look, that cinema feel to it. A vlog, which is a color profile, is not standalone working, but rather you can actually attach the 10-bit to it and make it better. Typography is a very different topic. It's text in videos, how text flows in videos. Then sound inputs. And when I talk about sensitivity, is the sensitivity to light, the camera, the low light capability of these cameras. This camera, this is world's best low light performing camera in terms of the category it is in. And I actually don't need additional lighting to shoot with this. This is the Lumix S1H. It is mind blowing. I use domestic light. I use a 60-watt bulb to light my scene using this camera. I don't need to add cinema lights to my camera. And you need to have a easy workflow. You can't keep converting your files all the time. You can't be working on MTS and XVAC files and you convert them again to suit your editing needs, and you convert them again once it's imported into your software. Very long process. As an independent filmmaker, you need to reduce your workflows. If people were asking what is resolution and what is 4K, I keep talking about 4K. The only reason I ask people to shoot 4K or higher resolution is, repeat the name of what? That's a Lumix Lumix S1H. The Lumix S1H is a full frame camera, the GH5S and the G9. There are 3 cameras that I'm using currently. Then again, coming back to resolution. Your cameras, if they shoot the highest resolution, that is 4K or maybe 6K in some cases, that is what you have to shoot. You have to shoot the highest resolution of your camera. And when I talk about 4K, I'm not talking about 4K because you need to deliver 4K. I am talking about 4K for one simple reason. It is 4 times the quality of HD. It is more information. It is better sharpness. It is better image quality. It is actually of a higher quality than anything else in your gamut. And believe me guys, once you do start shooting 4K and processing 1080p, your game will change. Right? Your game will change. You can shoot by using only one camera, zoom in and zoom out in post-production. because you're shooting a higher resolution. I'm going to end up delivering only full HD. I'm not going to actually be develop this here. What you see here is full HD. The purple area, this area right here, this is full HD. This area is 4K. Imagine that. This is 4 times HD. That is the kind of resolution, and that is the kind of footage space that you're getting. So you need to start shooting the highest possible resolution. Frame rates. There was a question that somebody asked in the beginning, frame rates. Frame rates are basically a series of images that are clubbed together to form a video. What is a video? A video is series of images. As a standard worldwide, a standard was set that cinema will be shot at 24 frames per second because human eyes read motion at that frame rate. But the human eyes also read 30 frames per second, 16 frames per second, 60 frames per second, and also 100 frames per second as well. Then why 24? 24 was set only for one simple reason. When cinema was shot, it was shot like this. The roll would be like this and the roll would go up like this. So the images were captured in smaller formats, the 35mm formats. So that is the size of the sensor in your cameras, the Super 35 sensor or a full frame sensor. Even the Micro Four Thirds sensor is the shape of a 35mm sensor, even though if it's smaller. So when the images were captured, when the film was rolling, it was rolling at 24 frames per second or 23.97. And that is how images were being captured. 24 images being captured in 1 second to record 1 second of video. Harsh, I will talk about proxy edit and I will even share a link for proxy edit, don't worry, for 4K. And coming back, so 24 frames per second was cinema standard, 30 frames per second is television standard for the US, for NTSC countries or US and the US areas. In India, television is 25 frames per second. If you want to go into basic slow-mo, let's say I want to slow my footage down a little bit, I would need more frames to do that, hence 60 frames per second. Right? 60 frames per second just gives you that expansion of reducing this. What happens when I slow down a footage is, I am actually trying to put lesser number of frames onto a time, on a wider timeline. So what happens is I start skipping frames. So if I would have recorded 24 frames per second, editing 24 frames per second, then slowing my footage down, I would get a jitter. This is the reason you get a jitter. If I would have shot 60 frames per second, editing a 24 frames per second timeline, and then reduce the speed, I would have so many more pixels to spread across the reduction. Now, once I do that, that is where I get a very smooth slow-mo of at least 50%. You want to go into more slow-mo. If you want to go to more slow-mo, you record 120 frames per second or 100 frames per second, 180 frames per second. The G9, considering at the price point it is coming, it records 180 frames per second, full HD. Right? Full HD. This is a basic DSLR. This is an entry-level DSLR. You have even cheaper options, which the G95 is under 1 lakh rupees, an entry-level DSLR again, shoots 120 FPS. In India, PAL is supported more, but you have to understand the web does not consider PAL or NTSC at all. It just allows you to shoot. And put your what is the autofocus system on the Panasonic Lumix? It's beautiful. The S1H, by the way, guys, is a camera that shoots autofocus at 120 FPS. So if I do a B-roll video tomorrow at 120 FPS, I can actually use the autofocus method. Is it absolutely necessary to shoot at a constant frame rate if there are only few slow-mo shots? No. You can change your frame rate. I would shoot the whole film at 24 frames per second, and then if I want to use a particular action sequence, and I will shoot maybe that one action sequence at 60 frames per second, or if I really want to shoot ultra slow-mo, I would actually do it at 100 or 120 frames per second. Because guys, remember, looking at this sheet in front of you, the more FPS you go, the more shutter speed you have to increase because you have to sync speed. Oh, difference between NTSC and PAL, it is the area format. US and everywhere it is NTSC. Some parts of Europe and Asia is PAL. And there was a time when video cassettes used to come, so NTSC cassettes wouldn't play in India and Indian cassettes won't play outside. Why we can't use 120 FPS for every scene? Because if you're using dialogue, 24 FPS, 120 FPS usually does not record sound. And 120 FPS is actually very, very slow. So if you speed it up, it looks unreal. For human realism, for a film to look very real, for motion to exist, it has to be 24 frames per second. And since your cameras can't do 1/48 shutter speed, it has to be 1/50. So the perfect settings for your camera would be this. Shutter at always 50 frames per second, 1/50th of a second if you're shooting 24, 25 or 30p. If you're increasing your shutter, if you're increasing your frame rate, your shutter will be the double of your frame rate. If I'm shooting 24 frames per second, my shutter is 50. If I'm shooting 60 frames per second, my shutter will be 1/120. Similarly, if I'm doing more slow-mo, it increases. So what you're basically losing in the process is light. Hence, higher frame rates are not recommended for people. Higher frame rates are not recommended for doing films or throughout the films. Why? Because you will end up losing light and you will end up losing quality. In India, television is PAL, guys. Just remember, in India, television is always PAL because that is the frequency that television transmits in India. Then ISO. ISO is the image quality. ISO is the my screen sharing is paused. Why is my screen sharing paused? 1 second, guys. Can you guys see the screen? Can you guys can you guys see a black camera settings slide in the screen? There's some people saying, I'm just going to reshare it. 1 second, guys. I hope you guys can see this now. Oops, sorry. Awesome. I'm back and my chat screen is also back. I'm sorry I can't work without the chat screen because it allows me to kind of get a reciprocation from my audience. So coming back to what I was saying, ISO. ISO is the image quality of your film, your sensor sensitivity. If you're stuck in situations where you can't change your shutter, where you can't change your aperture, you end up changing your ISO. The more ISO you go, the more gain you will get. For cinema, some gain is doable, but please do not go overboard with ISOs. Depending on the camera that you use, like for example, the S1H is a very low light sensitive camera. I have shot films at 6400 ISO without any gain. Whereas there were situations where I ended up going for 12,000 ISO also. But again, it depends from situation to situation. It depends from people to people. One rule that everybody has to remember, guys, one rule to get that perfect setting or the perfect motion blur in your film is, if you're shooting 24 or 25 frames per second, keep your shutter at 1/50. Do not change your shutter. If you're shooting indoors and if you're getting flicker, try switching between 1/50 and 1/60 because it is depending on the lights in that room that the flicker will come or not. But otherwise, never change your shutter. So if you go out in bright sun when you need less light, you need a device which is called an ND filter or a neutral density filter to reduce light. Never ever digitally increase your shutter because it is electronic shutter. It will make your shots look very unrealistic. It will make your shots look very with less motion blur in them, and hence your film will not look like film. For cinema, your shutter has to be, if you're recording 24 or in sync with your frame rates every time. So if you're recording 24 or 25, it has to be 50. If you're recording 60 frames per second, it has to be 100 or 120. So guys, be very, very, very ultra careful with that. If you want in natural lights, of course, use an ND filter. Neutral density filter to keep it at 50. I love shooting outdoors. I love getting that shallow depth of field. I don't like increasing my aperture. I definitely don't increase my shutter. I use my neutral density filter or an ND filter to do so. What is a common ISO? My favorite ISO is 100. I love shooting at 100, but every camera has a native ISO. I love shooting at between 320 and 640. Those are very, very decently noisy ISOs that give me a very nice film look if I want. I'm talking about with the entry level camera like a G9. I love shooting with 320 or 640 ISO. Now guys, you have to talk, when we talk about aperture is the opening of your lens. And aperture is something that will actually also affect your shallow depth of field, the blur that you get behind your subject if you're using a tele lens. Your lenses for video are not the sharpest at the widest opening. When I say that, what I mean to say is, let's say you have a lens which is f1.2 or a f2.8 or a t2.8 and stuff like that. When I say T is also an f-stop, but T is more precision. Cinema is done in T-stops and not f-stops. Okay, so when you have to get that sharpness, from your lens, your aperture has to be one stop down. Let's say, for example, if I'm using a lens which is f1.2, I will actually shoot f2 or f2.8 and not at f1.2. Why? Because at f1.2, the focal point is so small, the focal range is so small that the focus will shift from my eyelashes to my eyebrows. And if my subject is moving, because in videos the subject keeps moving, you will get a blur. Does ND filter reduces image sharpness? No, it doesn't. Depending on the quality of the ND filter and the price you get it at. And then always shoot your aperture one stop down. You will get very, very sharp quality. One second, sorry. Use tripods. Use stabilizers in your shot. Sorry about that. 1 second. I'm just gonna get rid of my screens. There are too many screens on my screen. Okay. You need tripods. You need good video tripods. This here is a video tripod. This here is a video tripod because I can smoothly pan left, pan right, and smoothly tilt up and tilt down. So a video tripod is a tripod that allows me to fix the bubble. It has a cup on the bottom. If you see here, there's a cup right here, or a bowl, and I can pan left, pan right. These are called fluid heads. What you see in the image also, this is a fluid head. You need fluid heads to shoot video. You can't use a photo tripod for a video, right? You have to have motion in your cinematic shots. You need to have motion in your shots. You can't have static shots throughout your film, right? If you're using it handheld, get a rig. A rig will give you more stability. This is a rig right here. That is why I'm able to attach so many things. The reason I need a wireless transmitter to transmit my images, because I don't want the director standing next to me all the time. What I do is I give my phone to my director. I transmit wirelessly onto the phone, and the guy can sit in a distance, chill out, and look at what I'm shooting. Right? So you need these kind of stuff. You need to have a good sound. You need to have a good sound. There is no doubt about having good sound. Use shotgun mics, use boom mics. This is a mic from a brand called DT. You put it at an angle that is approximately this far away from your subject, right? And pointing towards the chest. That is an ideal situation, or a little away, depending on what your framing is. Now, what it does is basically, because it's a directional mic, because I love using shotgun mics for all my productions. Because these are directional, because the condenser size is big. Look at that, it's a massive condenser. It will always give me a good sound. But if you're stuck in situations where you can't have the frame, you have a very wide frame and you can't have a boom standing in your frame, go for a lavalier mic or a lapel mic or a collar mic, as we call it. But hide it. Hide it in a way where it even does not rub. There are brands in the market called Rycotech. There is a brand called Nepa, which make stickers that you stick onto your people and it stops rubbing. onto your mic, so your clothes don't rub onto the mic. So you use those kind of things. Use off camera syncs. Use a zoom h4n or a zoom h6n and off camera sound recorder to record very high quality sound. So what you see in the image, if you can see the image in the photo, there's a guy sitting in the back in the brown jacket. He's actually recording sound separately. In DSLRs, you usually don't get very high quality sound because it's just a 3.5 mm jack. This is a 3.5 mm jack. This is what your DSLR holds. This is not a balanced sound. You need good sound to record the best quality that you can. You need flicker-free LEDs, guys. Get this in your head. Do not buy cheap LEDs. Do not work with just home-based lighting. You need flicker-free LEDs. Now, what are flicker-free LEDs? Flicker-free LEDs are very high-quality LEDs that do not create any flicker in any situation using any camera. These are very high-quality LEDs. The one I'm using here is from Aputure. And this is an MC LED. And another reason for short filmmakers, for independent filmmakers, when we need versatility, when we need a dynamism in our shots, let's say I want to imitate a cop car tomorrow, I get a cop car. Imagine that. So the versatility, yeah, that's it, Aputure MC. The versatility that you get with one light is so good that can actually manage even color. I can fix it onto a color. You need to get these kinds of, this is the kind of investment you need to make as an independent filmmaker, along with the system that you have in terms of your camera. So for example, this is an, Varun has already said it, this is an Aputure MC LED, APUTURE MC LED. It works brilliantly with my G9. I have never got any flicker. Works very well in low light situations. There is a scene in a film that we did with our students where I've actually lit the whole scene just using that one light, and the redness and the kind of colors that we've captured have been mind-blowingly amazing. And you need the flicker free. Why? Because if you get flicker in your footage, it will just make it look bad. You need to have wireless transmissions, especially when you're doing events. Let's say I'm capturing an event or I'm working with directors. I need to keep people away from me. If I'm stuck in a very weird situation, for example, I have to mount the camera in front of the car. I have to be inside the car and still look at the shot. I can't be stopping and reviewing the shot again and again. At that point in time, I need a device or I need something that will actually enable me to get a very, very high quality signal onto my phone without any kind of a lag, without any kind of hindrance. And this, in the process, we shoot high quality images as well. So you need those very high end, high quality transmitters as well. These are dirt cheap right now. These are under 30-40K transmitters from Holyland, and they can be used at weddings. They can be used in any kind of a situation that you're in. I'm just going to put my camera back. Oops. For some reason, I'm not able to put it back in. Oh yeah, got it. Anyways, yeah. So when you talk about wireless transmission, can you focus? No, you can't do autofocus at 180 FPS. In the S1H, it autofocuses on, what do you say, 120 FPS, but anything above 120 FPS, guys, when you go anything above 60 FPS in any camera, it loses the capability of autofocus. It will actually not be able to capture it that easily. So coming back to what I was saying, you need wireless transmission. You need wireless transmission. So what I'm basically doing is I can actually transmit everything onto my screen over here. If you guys see, I'm just going to reduce the sound in this. See that? So this is transmitting wirelessly. My camera is actually wirelessly transmitting the footage onto my phone without much of a lag, without much of anything. And it is giving me all the details and everything that we can actually have over here. right? So this is what technology is doing for you. This is what technology is enabling to you as independent filmmakers, to have the capability of having cameras using these wireless transmitters, using these kind of lights. This is all affordable equipment, guys. This is not expensive at all. At one point in time when I started shooting cinema, everything was so expensive, so expensive. I couldn't even think about getting a wireless transmitter. I couldn't even think about doing wireless broadcasting. The the phone connects via a Wi-Fi connection and gives me full HD output onto my phone. Now we come to the aesthetic side of it, and we're coming towards the, like, say about 70-75% of the bit is done. Actually 80% is done. If you guys have any question, put in the polls. I will pick these questions up in just a little while. Don't worry, we're gonna talk about the important questions. Just put it in the polls. Go to polls and put it in the polls. Aesthetics is something that you learn by practicing. Aesthetics is something that I can't tell you, or I can't give you a premix of. I can't say, okay, yeah, use this combination and it's perfect and you will get perfect results. No. There are some things that you develop on your own. There are some things that you develop on your by yourself, so that you can actually be able to achieve what you're wanting. Composition is aesthetic. How you frame. It is how you place the elements in your film. It is how you play with elements in your film. Where do you block your actors? The movement of your actors has to be blocked from point A to point B, because that is how your camera is moving. Guys, never unnecessarily move your camera. Never do that. Be very careful about how you do it, how you do that. Right? So always have a very intuitive movement and block what you do, because you might be shooting with manual lenses, and if you don't have if you don't block your actors, if you don't block people in your frame, you will actually end up losing your shot. There is a 180-degree rule. In your frame, what is on your left stays on your left, what is on your right stays on your right. Even if you change the angle, I will not do this. I will not do this. So there is a 180-degree rule. You keep what is correct on the right, and what is on the left at all times, even if you're creating an over-the-shoulder shot or you're creating a wide shot. So basic techniques that this is, guys, you can take a screenshot of this if you feel like, but this is a list of the kind of shots today. I'm going to touch upon some basics of them. 1 second, I'll give you time to take a screenshot. I'll take some water. So extreme long shots or extreme wide shots are shots that establish your premise, that establish your location, that establish your story, that establish everything that you're going to be talking about in the next few hours or minutes of your film. So it is all of that. Right. When I talk about blocking, blocking is telling your actors where they have to be in point A and where they have to be in point B. But you need that establishing shot. I love using the drone to get my establishing shots. I use an ultra wide angle lens to get my establishing, because I need to tell people, okay, here I am. This is the location. This is what the location looks like. This is what is happening on the location. And this is what is going to happen next. That is what your extreme wide angle shots work for. Long shots establish characters, because now you can actually define. In this shot, you couldn't define what is there in a distance. You can make out its cars. If you've seen Mad Max, you know its cars, right? But if I go from there to here, my composition changes. Now I place a character in my composition. I place a character in my screen, and I place a character in my frame, which the character is actually going to be established with a long shot. It is more identifiable. A full shot describes my character more, his physique, his clothes, his characteristics, his style of standing. A full shot will tell you what a different character has as his characteristics, is what a full shot does, a top to bottom full shot. A medium wide shot or a mid wide shot will get you into the detail of emotions. Now you can have, in this I couldn't see the eyes too much, right? But in this one, now I have the eyes more visible, I have an expression more visible, the emotion comes out more. A cowboy shot which is cut on the thighs is actually what is called a power shot. You look at any hero film, pick up any hero film, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, any film, Avengers, when they establish a character who's going in to do something very important, it's always a cowboy shot. And it's called a cowboy shot. Why? Because when the older Western movies were made, the guns were important for cowboys. They used to do tricks with those guns, and people had to establish those guns in the films, hence the cowboy shot came. Action comes in cowboy shots. What is going to happen next comes in cowboy shots. A medium shot is more in the moment. You have some bit of your background, but it is more focused on your character, right? It is more focused on your personality. It is more focused on what the character is doing. Medium close-up or a mid close-up shot is more about emotions. It is more about what the scene is talking about. It is more about what the actor in the scene is talking about. A close-up shot is your character shot. This is where your character is the prime focus of your film. In this, there in the mid close-up, you can see some bit of background. In the close-up, you can't see anything in the background. So you guys have to be very careful when you do close-up shots. Close-up shot bring out all the features of your character, and they talk about all the features of all the detailing of the scene and all the detailing in the emotions of that scene. Extreme close-ups work very well when you want your audience to connect with your character on a one-to-one basis. Extreme close-ups are very, very essential, are very, very important. And you need to take extreme close-ups. Why? Because if you show somebody a wide shot, you need to get into detail. You need to dive in. It is extremely important. So these are the kind of shots that combine to create scenes. A scene is a combination of different shots. Use the best combination that suits your needs. Hit and try every kind of a shot and then execute. But when we do short divisions, when we do short breakdowns, we have to write every single bit down for us. Post-production. Now, since you're done with your production, you have your shots, you have everything with you. Next comes is post-production. In post-production, the first and the most important thing is that you need to start saving your data. You need to start creating backups. I've had cases where we have lost backups and we have lost data. Stop using small portable hard drives to edit your footage. Either use solid state drives, SSDs, or use powered hard drives only. Never use those thin hard drives that are available in the market. Use only powered hard drives. Those hard drives work very well. They last you long. And God forbid, if you lose data in the bigger hard drives, they're easily recoverable. Smaller hard drives are not, because smaller hard drives are encrypted. Plus, you need to have multiple fail safes. At least a bare minimum have 2 or a 3 backup policy. That is 1 master footage and 1 backup for 2, and 1 master footage and 2 backups for 3 backup policy. Always do that. You will be very safe, because your hardware is worth the amount of data it is there in that hard drive. When we talk about editing, post-production workflows are very important. I'm going to put up a link over here. Is a doc link for you guys. When I edit, I use DaVinci to edit now, and in DaVinci we use a process called proxy edit. In Premiere Pro, in Final Cut Pro also, that is the only reason we use DaVinci Resolve is it is free. Guys, DaVinci Resolve is 100% free and a fully usable software. The only difference between DaVinci Resolve and DaVinci Studio is that DaVinci Studio allows you to import raw footage. DaVinci Resolve doesn't. And DaVinci Resolve does not do noise reduction. So there is a special noise reduction feature in DaVinci Studio that the DaVinci Resolve doesn't have. The app is DaVinci Resolve. It's there on the screen, guys. You can look at it. I will just share you guys what we call is a proxy edit. So this is what I'm talking about. This is called proxy edit. Proxy edit is a workflow where you can actually edit 4K footage on an i3 computer. I do that. Girish, when we talk about footage not to be imported, is basically if you shoot raw, if you shoot, let's say 12-bit raw or 10-bit raw footage, that is a format of the footage. DaVinci Resolve does not import that kind of footage because it is meant for studio only. Yeah. So guys, can I, Piyush sir, can I have, Pratyush sir, can I have more questions, or are you taking over? Have I answered all questions, or are there some questions left? So there are people complaining about Panasonic showrooms not being there in Chennai. Sir, get a Panasonic showroom in Chennai. There are no formats for character movements. Character movements can happen anytime. It is up to you how your script flows and what your script is all about. Yadu, Pratyush, just one question I want to answer here. Yadu, this here is not a cinema camera. This is not a standard cinema camera. It is the Lumix G9. This is an entry-level camera, by the way. I am using a cinema lens attached to it because it is compatible. In the entry-level cameras, there are cameras which are compatible with cinema lenses and some are not. I am of a school of thought where I don't want to spend money on my production. I am of a school of thought that I don't want to actually spend any money on equipment. I want to do as low budget as possible. So me using a expensive full frame camera versus an entry level camera, I use both for my productions. I don't depend on either. I say if I have a low budget film coming up, I use a G9. But if I have a full frame coming up, if I have a very high budget film coming up, which has the budget for me to at least hire this from outside, if I don't own it, I of course get a full frame to do it. Full frame cameras with an adapter do get cinema lenses in, but you need a 2x crop. Over to you, Pratyush sir. I'm just going to find some links for people and I'm going to paste it in the chat box. Till that, please take over. I'll take a break. I've been speaking for too long.
Good evening, Kshitij. So nice to see you here.
I know, sir.
All right, so I'd like to take over for a moment. And guys, can you just help me share my presentation?
Just 1 second.
Sure. Hi, good evening, everyone. And is my presentation visible to you? Just say yes or no, Rajesh.
Yes, it
I'm
is.
not able to see the video. Wait.
I'm able to see your screen, sir. The PPT. If you take it full screen, it will be better.
All right. I hope it's full screen now.
Yeah, it is.
Great, great. All right. So good evening, everyone. I am Pratyush. I'm from Panasonic Mumbai. And it was really a nice session by Kshitij. So I was actually supposed to cut in at 6:30, but now it's almost 7:30. But the good part is, since we're talking about cinema and short film and stuff like that, I believe most of us have been to cinema theaters, PVRs, Inox, Wave cinemas and all. That is the beauty of cinema. When you sit at the edge of the seat and you have no clue that the movie is going on, it's about to end, where's the interval coming, and what is happening in the movie, that is the beauty of cinema. And that is exactly what Kshitij was able to do. I was not able to figure out कि एक घंटा कब इसमें मैंने वेट करने में निकाल दिया. That is the good part. So without taking much time, I'll quickly take you guys through some of the cameras which we have from Panasonic. So Panasonic is the parent company, and under Panasonic we have this brand known as Lumix. This is a very brief history of Panasonic, And since Kshitij is talking about a camera like GH5, G9, S1H, and other such cameras, I like to take you a step ahead of it. He mentioned something about 14-bit. He mentioned something about 444 in terms of bit rate and color subsampling. So the cameras which you are able to see right now on your screen, those are the professional level cinema cameras. If you look to the extreme right, that is the VariCam 35. 35 means a Super 35 sensor, which you probably know by now. On the extreme left-hand side, that is the VariCam, which is a tape-based camera. So this was the first camera which came with the VFR. VFR is the variable frame rate. Kshitij told us about high frame rate, slow motion, multiple frame rates, 120 FPS, 24 FPS, 50 FPS, 200 FPS, and stuff like that. So this camera can take a variable frame rate situation. Apart from that, this works on the tape. When I say tape, that is basically a magnetic tape based system. Now, moving from these cameras ahead, if you notice, the professional cinema quality came down to the G series. Now, what is G series? Kshitij introduced the camera, which is G9. He has this camera with him. If you look to the extreme right, you can see the GH5S. That is the highest camera on the micro four thirds camera lineup by Lumix. Now, this camera has a 10 megapixel sensor. It has got a 422 10-bit internal video recording option and an inbuilt vlog system. So when I say 10 megapixel, some of us might think, okay, in today's world, when things are going 40 megapixel, things are going 180 megapixel, why are we talking about things like 10 megapixel? I mean, 10 megapixel was something which was in our cell phones that too ages ago. Why are we still using 10 megapixels? So when you're shooting cinema, when you're making something on a camera in terms of video or motion pictures, you are basically using 2 megapixel or 4 megapixel or 8 megapixel of your entire sensor. In that case, you need a lower resolution camera with higher pixel size. Please understand this. If there's a tray, if I say there's a 1:1 ratio sensor and there are 20 megapixels on it, and in that contrast, we have 10 megapixels on it. So 10 megapixels or 10 pixels will be larger in terms of size. Each pixel will be able to take in more light, and that light will in turn give you a good picture quality or a better color quality. That is why we are using a 10 megapixel camera in that case. So never get driven away by this fact the camera is a very low res camera, it's probably a bad camera. No, that is not the case. Now coming to why am I having these cameras in the lineup? The cinema technology which is there on the cinema cameras in the Panasonic Cine cams, that has been taken and embedded on the Lumix G series. So G series is the micro four thirds series, and the same cinema technology is being used by the lower segment camera. Here we have the full frame camera. Showed you the S1H camera which we has with him. Now that camera can shoot 6K, it can shoot 4K, it can shoot 4K time lapse, it can shoot 4K interval shooting, it can shoot HDR, it can shoot HLG. Apart from that, the S1H is the only camera in the industry which is Netflix approved. So when I say Netflix, there are two types of certifications. If your product, if your video, if your cinema, if your movie, if your web series is to be streamed on Netflix, there are two levels. One, your camera has to be Netflix approved. Second, your content has to be Netflix approved. So in case you have a very good script, you have a very good crew and everything, but your camera is not Netflix compatible, in that case, your product, whichever camera you make it, your product may not go on a Netflix platform. So in that case, a Netflix approved camera is really, really helpful in that case. So what are the key features here? One, we have the lenses. Few of us might know about a brand known as Leica. So Leica is known for its optics around the world. When we talk about a genre like street photography, Leica is something which comes to our mind first of all because it's like the pioneer of the camera industry in the world when it comes to street and optics. So the Lumix lenses are made on the Leica platform. They are Leica certified, and we do have Leica certified optics in our lenses. That is the key feature on our lenses. Second is the sensor. So if I talk about the sensor, the kind of pixel readability, the kind of wear dynamics, the kind of wear filters, and the color calibration on the sensor which is given on the Panasonic cameras are coming directly from the cinema cameras. Now the third option which says engine. Engine is nothing but the processor of the camera. The Venus engine, which is present on the cinema cameras, the same engine or the same processor is used by the Lumix G series or S series. So you do not have a difference between the kind of processor which we have on a Cinecam and your Micro Four Third camera. So if you're looking for an image quality, when I say image, I am referring to that particular frame of your video footage. If you're looking for that kind of an image quality, look for an option which has got a capability or a derivation from the cinema segment of the industry, which is coming from this segment. So if I talk about the micro four thirds, if I talk about the sensor size, if we are not good with mathematics, there are different types of crop sensors, 1.5x, 1.7x. Then in micro four third, we have got 2.0x. So in case you have a lens which is a 25 millimeter 1.8 aperture lens, on a micro four thirds sensor, that lens becomes 50 millimeter 1.8. The mathematics is as simple as that. Whatever focal length you put in, it will just double up the focal length. So in case you're looking for a shot which you have to shoot on a 50 millimeter lens or a 50 millimeter focal length, in that case, just put a 25 millimeter lens on the camera and you can get 50 millimeter focal length out of it. This is really useful when you're doing stuff like wildlife. So if I'm out there and I'm shooting a wildlife film, I'm shooting something for, let's say, a banner like a Discovery Channel or Nat Geo or Animal Planet or something like that. In that case, my requirement is that I need to carry minimal gear with me. I cannot carry heavy cameras with me. In that case, I'll simply carry a GH5S or a G9 with me, and I'll carry a 100 and 400 mm lens with me, or probably a 35 to 100 mm lens, which is 70-200, and 100-400 becomes 200-800 mm lens. So imagine 800 mm focal length without a teleconverter. You have the IBIS on the camera, you have the vlog on the camera, you will have image quality on the camera, you have a cinema segment processor on the camera. So all those things are fitting in a small or compact size camera. That's the beauty of a micro four third camera. And as Kshitij explained, when you're looking for the new age cinema, we are looking at the options. How can we make our cinema cheaper? When I say cheaper, I'm talking about in terms of budget. So if we do not have a budget where we can afford a high-end cinema camera, we can probably go for a camera which solves our purpose. If our purpose and if our client or requirement does not say anything about 6K, 8K or 4K, I'll not shoot at 4K. I'll probably shoot at full HD. So that is where these cameras come in. So what you're looking at right now is it's like a tie-up. It's like an alliance between the Leica and Panasonic. So Leica, Sigma, and Panasonic. These three companies have tied up together, and Sigma is making lenses for us. Leica is certifying our lenses in terms of optics, and Panasonic is making all those lenses, and we are giving those cameras to you. So when you look out for lenses, Sigma has got approximately 23 lenses as of now, which are Leica compatible, which are L-mount compatible. So the beauty is, if you have a Sigma lens, you can put that Sigma full frame lens on your Leica full frame camera and on your Panasonic full frame cameras. If you've got a Leica lens, you can directly put it on a Panasonic camera. You can also put a Panasonic camera on a Leica camera. So it is a reverse compatibility between these three brands. So it's more than 100 years craftsmanship of Leica. It's a company from Germany. So as you all know that Panasonic has been the official partner for the Olympics, but this year we will not have the Olympics due to the reasons best known to us because of COVID-19 situation worldwide. We were about to announce the 8K anamorphic sensor for our broadcast series in Olympics 2020 in Tokyo. But again, due to some reasons, we cannot do it this year. Then if I talk about a small budget film, if I talk about indie filmmaking, if I talk about travel films, if I talk about you going live with your blogging, in that case, we have a segment where you can use these cameras. So recently we rolled out with three cameras, which are known as CX7, CX8, and CX10. So CX10 is the broadcast level camera that is basically targeted towards news agencies and big multimedia houses. CX7, CX8 are more towards normal consumers. So the good part with this camera is, as you can see, the size of the camera is very compact. It has got an inbuilt LED light. It has got an inbuilt microphone. Plus, you can put two XLR microphones in it, and you can put a 3.5 microphone in it. So you have got a lot of compatibility with this system. That is the beauty of this camera. So that is all from my side, and I let Kshitij take over now. And as far as there was a question regarding there's no store in Chennai, so please share your details with the team, and we'll definitely get it checked. That we'll get in touch with you to get you a Lumix camera right there in Chennai.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the information that you've given so much. There are so many
Thank you.
good that are available in the market from Lumix, and I am personally a Lumix guy because for one simple reason is the ecosystem.
Right.
The Lumix ecosystem has actually allowed me to shoot at very low cost, to have very low cost productions. I don't have to worry about multiple cameras because I can afford two bodies very easily. The lenses are cheap and the lenses are cross compatible. I can use third party lenses onto my camera itself as well. We still have about 11 minutes on our hands. We will take up some questions. Let me pick up the Q&A section. Rajesh, tell me if I'm overshooting anything. If I am in time, then I will pick up some more questions. Okay, we have a lot of questions talking about camera. Okay, what shot types can we use? I'm gonna take this. So there's a question. What type of shoots do you shoot when you're doing a travel film? Guys, when you're actually working on travel films or when you're working on content, film works very similarly. You still need your establishing shot, you still need your mid shot, you still need your close-ups. You need to go from a very wide establishing to a very detailed close-up and work around everything in that process. The filmmaking process remains the same whether you're doing travel or you're doing fiction. It doesn't change. They're the same kind of shots, the same kind of framing, same lenses are used. The lens cost could change, the lens type could change, but it's the same focal length that you work on. So necessarily you take the same process to process your films, be it fiction or non-fiction. I am picking up Q&As, guys. Let me see if I can find any more. Okay, there are a lot of static. A lot of questions I've already answered. There is a question. Is dialogue necessary to express the ideas and planning to make a film which has no dialogue? It's not necessary. There was an age where when people would not be able to record dialogues, we had silent films. It was an era. Visuals can also talk. It is not about dialogues only. Visuals can talk as well. Visuals can actually tell a story. Visuals can take you through a journey. So your visual is something that needs to be perfect for your basically film to look really good. So it is all about visuals. If you get best visuals for your film, it doesn't matter whether your film has dialogue or it doesn't have dialogue. Dialogues don't really make or break a film. Will DaVinci work on an i5? I have no idea. I haven't tried it, but it doesn't work on my i5. Yeah, it does. It works on my i5 with an 8 GB RAM. I have an i5 with an 8 GB RAM. Okay, so when I switch my camera from NTSC to PAL, of course, if you're switching your camera from NTSC to PAL, you will be stuck with only 25 FPS and you will not get 24 FPS for one simple reason that you are now shooting in a area where, in a zone where PAL is the main system. But understand, one frame drop does not matter much. A film that has been shot at 24 frames per second or a film that is shot in 25 frames per second will still look the same because the settings, the combinations work together. So don't worry too much about it. But yeah, if you want to record slow-mo, you want to record higher slow-mo, so I would always prefer NTSC. And if you're developing content only for web, it really doesn't matter whether you're shooting NTSC or PAL, it works. Um, Best YouTube channel for studying filmmaking. Guys, you can even come and join ShootGuru YouTube channel. We teach for free. All the content on our website is for free. Okay. What is film freeway? Okay, I'm going to show this to you guys. 1 second. So I'm going to be talking about distribution right now. That is something I had left right for the end. I'm just gonna put up my screen. And guys, this is very important. This is where you're actually selling your film. Check this out. So if you want to take your film to festivals, if you want to take your films to places where it is being recognized, it can either be through a private session or it can be through film festivals. You can release it on YouTube. You can release it on Vimeo. You can release it on Facebook. Instagram also now gives you the IGTV to release it with. So it is up to you where you want to take it. But if you want recognition, if you want a scenario where you want to get to know other people, other filmmakers, get introduced to other people and other filmmakers, you have to take your films to film festivals. And for film festivals, the best website is Film Freeway. Now, what Film Freeway actually gives you is to upload your film onto the platform. They have a small fee attached to every entry that you make, but the creating an account and uploading your film is 100% free. You can enter all free festivals for free. You don't have to pay anything for them, but the paid festivals have an entry fee, and most of these festivals will have a connect with Film Freeway. They are available on Film Freeway, and that is your best actually platform to release your film for the film festivals. What is the standard duration in which our characters should be introduced before getting into the main story? It's all aesthetic. It depends. I mean, I know films like, for example, Suicide Squad. If you pick up the film Suicide Squad, the first 15 minutes of the film is only character establishment because there are that many characters. If you look at it, every character is given at least 1 to 2 to 3 minutes, and that is the whole storytelling behind it. The film starts much later. But even when you're establishing your characters, or even when you are introducing your characters, you still start telling stories. You still start talking about stories. FPS drops from 60% to 50. Is it really annoying, right? See, 10 frames, yes, do create a difference when I'm recording slow mo. My slow mo reductions will not be that smooth that I would get in 60 FPS. But at that very time, I wouldn't be much bothered about it because I'm from a school where I want to shoot with whatever I have. And if I start shooting PAL, I don't usually switch to NTSC. I keep sticking to PAL and I finish my film. How about camera settings, the shoot set? See, camera set, I can't give you a basic formula of camera settings. I can tell you, okay, this is the shutter, this is the ISO, this is the aperture that you need to keep for your film. One thing I can tell you, keep your shutter at 50 if you're recording 24 frames per second. If you're recording 24 frames per second, always keep it double, keep your shutter at 50. That is the basic rule. Everything else depends on the situation you're in. No cameras have night mode. None of the DSLRs have night mode. Old handycams have night modes. Entry level, okay, you have to understand there is no when I say raw, it necessarily does not mean I'm recording MOV or I'm recording MP4. It is the bit rate at which I'm recording a file. Regularly, usually your phones, your regular cameras, everything record 8-bit, right? That is approximately, I'm guessing 16 million colors. I could be wrong, just one minute. So when I talk about raw footage, when I talk about shooting raw, it is the higher bit rate that I have to talk about. It is the higher bit rate that my cameras. I'm going to show you guys a visual of what raw is, and what why I'm talking about raw is because the GH5S, the GH5, and the GH series and the S series all shoot raw on the camera itself. So I'm going to screen drop this 1 second. This is quite important for you guys to understand for one simple reason, because people have this assumption that if they're shooting the higher quality images, that is raw. This is what is raw. When I say 8-bit colors, when I talk about raw in colors, raw helps you to do better color grading. If I want to achieve that cinema look that I've been wanting, if I want to achieve that amazing soft look in my film, which looks very cinematic, I need to color grade it. And if I need to color grade it, I need to understand what my capability in terms of color grading is. If I don't have enough colors to color grade, then there is no use in color grading. 8-bit is actually, if you look at it, is approximately 16 million colors. 10-bit is 1 billion colors, and 12-bit is 68 billion colors. Cinema is recorded at 12-bit. All your Avengers and those kind of films are recorded 12-bit. Medium cinema or mid-range cinema is recorded at 10-bit. Web series and everything, they're all recorded 10-bit because they need that quality. And of course, 8-bit is recorded by any and everything from your phone to your camera is recorded by 8-bit. So again, it is up to your camera capability or your capability of your technology that you're using to actually be able to shoot or record anything in a particular fashion or particular way. How to change bits? Your camera has to have the capability to do it. You can't do it otherwise. Low budget sound recorders to do live sound recording, external sound recorders. The Zoom H1N is a very beautiful sound recorder that records external sound. You can go a little bit higher. You can go for the H4N, which has XLR balanced sound, because XLR style balanced sound is what you're looking for. Guys, proxy edit. I'm gonna send you guys a file. Just give me 1 second. Thank you for reminding. And guys, if you ever have any questions, if you have ever have anything that you want to ask in terms of getting a particular kind of a shoot, or you're stuck in a shoot, feel free to ask us. We're available on Instagram. My Insta ID is @ShootGuru, SHOOTGURU. You guys can actually come in and just DM us any kind of uh, things that you want to learn or you want to understand. We have a lot of free workshops that are lined up. Panasonic and us, and of course Cheese is doing so much that is available to you, and these guys are getting so many mentors that are available to you in the market these days. And Cheese and Panasonic are doing a very fantastic job when it is coming to actually delivering free content to you guys. When I started, it was very hard for us to actually get things done. But nowadays, with such companies working so hard for you guys, it is actually amazing. And here you go. So I've added a link. This is for Premiere Pro specifically because I know a lot of you users here will be using Premiere Pro. And and guys, if you want to get in touch with me, so I'm available at the rate Shoot Guru. That is my ID on Instagram. If you say that you were part of this webinar, I will follow you back so that we can keep in touch. And of course, just I think we're done. Rajesh, if you think we can close this.
Yeah, sure. We are good to go. Thank you very much, Kshitij. Uh,
And yeah, so guys, anybody who wants the link, everybody with the link can actually view it. I've changed the settings.
and guys, thank you very much, Kshitij, for such a lovely, wonderful. It is one of the
Thank you.
best we had. We did not do much on videos. Actually, you are one of the, this is one of the best sessions, I would say. And do follow him. And such things are available for free. This is not his right. Earlier it was very difficult to find
It
some
was.
content
It was.
that, like there was no, and like our seniors, they were never believing in sharing the knowledge, like, and getting into that circle where you can ask somebody. It was very difficult. Thanks to the social media and some brands, it would have not been possible without Lumix. So guys, please follow him, Shoot Guru, on Instagram, and we will be sending you certificates, e-certificates. To do that, you need to apply for that. On our website there is a link. If you go to events.chiizdotcom, if you go to this particular one, there you need to attach a confirmation that you have attended. We will also send you a complimentary digital copy of our magazine and a certificate signed by Short Guru, the Short Guru, actually, I must say. So I really appreciate that. And I think we should, on the chat, we must join and say a big thanks to Kshitij. I know all are muted, but if you could do on my request. Thank you very much,
Thank you
sir.
guys for attending. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity, and it's always a pleasure.
You are really I would not say like you must be a good shooting guru, but you are a good teacher actually. That guru, you are
Thank you so much.
very, and he has a lot of I know it is just a very tip of iceberg, like this field is really big, there are each subject what he has touched, it requires a weeks or at least for a day of
Yeah.
training. He has some paid trainings available. Do visit him, connect with him, look at and his rates are also pretty reasonable, including the practical
Thank you.
trainings, experience, and the live building, live video building, like any film or short film. So video is the future. So thank you very much, and God bless you. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Stay.
Thank you, sir.
Closing thing from you. This.
Right. Thank you guys for attending. It's always a pleasure to connect with like-minded filmmakers. And thank you so much for such amazing words, Mukeshji. And what I bring to you is what the mistakes I've made. So you guys don't make any such mistakes in your life. Make your own. Start making your own mistakes. And other than this, if anybody of you is looking for a one-to-one mentorship program, we have a very special mentorship program, and of course, a lot of workshops happening with Chiiz and with Panasonic also. And Chiiz is doing very brilliant with so many workshops they're doing. You can go to the page and just check it out as well. So, guys, just make the most of this that you are in right now, where you're getting so much of free education. Appreciate it, use it, and execute it, and start sharing that execution with us, and we will definitely someday work together. So guys, take care, stay home, stay safe.
Thank you very much. And we do, once you shoot it, like I know we are under lockdown, we have a limited mobility, but still whatever you shoot it, feel free to upload it on lockdown.chiizdotcom. We have one initiative going on. End of this lockdown, we plan to create a video. It's like a good platform. If you feel that your content is good, even short, so don't, like don't worry about the gears and opportunity and location. Just shoot some good content, creative. Take help from Shot Guru, Kshitij.
Yeah, anytime. Anytime. Guys, if you need any kind of help, any kind of advice, my consultation is 100% free. DM me on Instagram, I will answer you.
What else one can look for, Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for attending.
Bye, Kshitij.
See you. See you.